Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and this is my best friend Andy, aka engineer4, like 4God, if you check out his own YouTube channel. And last week, when we did a dual review, we decided to review Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy Color and 3DS Virtual Console, which, how would you rate that among your favorite Zelda titles, at least among the 2D ones? Like, no, in the top 3, perhaps?
Phantom Hourglass?
No, I'm not talking about Link's. I'm talking about Link's Awakening.
Oh, Link's Awakening?
Yeah.
Oh, well, pretty high. I mean,
So like top 2, top 3.
I don't really know.
Well, you
like
don't
as
really
far
have
as
much to
ranking.
compare
I
it
mean, maybe
to.
5 or something. It's up there, but it's not like very top.
Well, that was one of his favorite 2D games. So now we're going to review our least favorite Zelda handheld game, and that is The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for the DS. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about false advertising. So I went to GameStop and I was looking at this game, and the guy at the counter says, "You should totally get this game. This is like the greatest game ever." And I said, "The greatest game ever? But Twilight Princess just came out like half a year ago." He's like, "No, seriously. You like have to get the DS. It just you have to get the game because it pushes the DS to its limits." And he actually had the misfortune of beating it. I gave up like at the halfway point. So the critics loved this game. They thought it was like one of the most innovative and amazing DS titles ever made. What do you have to say to that?
No, not at all. I mean, for one, in the Wind Waker, you get so much to explore. You get so many different areas of the Great Sea and all that. This game only has 4 lousy quadrants of the sea.
4? I thought it was at least 8.
I thought it was 4.
Man, this game really is terrible.
So it's a very limited exploration range.
Yeah,
And also I hated the way that the DS used the you control the ship with the DS. Like you draw the path on the screen and then the ship just follows it. You don't even have to like raise the sail or do anything like that.
so you actually were one of the few people that liked being able to change the wind.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this Phantom Hourglass comes along and you're like, well, this is the lazy man's version of it.
Yeah, and the sea is smaller.
The sea is smaller. Well, what I didn't like about the game was I didn't like the fact that it seemed like their only concern was taking advantage of the DS, and they forgot to put in the fact that, oh, let's make a fun Zelda game. Would you say they even succeeded at making a Zelda game, let alone a fun game? Like, would you say it followed the formula enough?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess you could say that as far as that there was dungeons and all that, but there wasn't really too much of a storyline at all.
Yeah.
And then there was the idea of the Temple of the Ocean King, where you have to just go through it like every time you go there, you have to like start from the beginning and go through it.
Oh my gosh.
Thank
goodness the Wii U Virtual Console version has the restore point. Wouldn't we have loved to see that back in the day?
I mean, it is kind of a cool concept in some way, because yeah, I mean with the going through it in the time and all that, but I don't know, it was kind of lackluster. And all the dungeons, like the music for the dungeons wasn't really particularly interesting.
Because it was all the same music, and it felt like elevator music, in my opinion.
Yeah. In fact, the only song that I like from that game is Linebeck's theme.
The only song I like from that game is the opening title theme, which I think, because they're so lazy, they decided to also make it the theme when you're sailing. Because this game has to have some of the worst music I have ever heard in a Zelda series. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
It's like the kind of music that you might hum for like 2 seconds and then already get bored of it. I just thought overall the game was just like bland. It would be like, okay, let's say you are making s'mores, but you decide not to add the marshmallow and the chocolate. That's basically how I would describe this game. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And then also the villain of the game too. I mean, the villain is pretty much just a monster. Like it's not even like a mean evil person. It's just some like.
Yeah, well, if you've read Hyrule Historia, you know that he's the Demon King, as if that makes it any better. So let's talk about the controls really quickly, like outside of sailing. So what did you think about like the fact that the game really relied on the DS's unique style of controls?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really much for using the touch screen that much. I
You
mean,
prefer the more traditional stuff,
I
right?
do usually. I mean, I guess it was kind of interesting, like drawing a circle around Link to make a spin attack, and I guess some of it was kind of cool, but I mean, it wasn't really that important to me compared to other things.
Yeah, basically my opinion of the game was like there were occasional moments of brilliance, like that one puzzle where you have to like bounce an arrow off the rope to hit the eye switches. That was kind of cool. But overall, I just found myself almost treating the game like it's a chore. Like, okay, just a few more to go. Kind of like when you're washing the dishes. You're just like, okay, another one, another one, another one. And it was just like, when is this stinging game gonna end? So one thing I did like was they had one little humorous moment where you open a chest and there's nothing in it and it just says do 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 you got nothing. And if that's the best part of the game that I can think of, we're talking about a really, really terrible game. Why the heck did we bother spending, what was it, $40 at the time of its release
I
to
don't
buy it?
remember.
Wasn't it like 35, something like
I
that?
don't remember.
So what did you think about some of the more outside the box puzzles in the game? Like
I
the
don't even
times
remember. I don't even remember that.
you don't even remember. Oh my gosh, okay. So there's one where you have to blow into the DS microphone to blow out a candle. That took me forever to figure out because it's so counterintuitive. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, in most Zelda games you would get like an icon that appears, but you don't get anything. You're just asked to just figure out, well, how do you blow out a candle? Maybe I should swing my sword at it. Maybe I should look around and see if maybe I should get a fan or something. No, you just have to be like, and then it blows out as a result. Did I just spit on my computer? Ugh. See what you made me do, Phantom Hourglass? You're making me desecrate sacred property. Uh, then there was a puzzle that involved you having to close the DS just to get through. Was that really necessary?
Oh yeah. Vaguely remember that.
And then you had to draw your own island at one point, which I remember trying that and I still failed. Because the touchscreen is so finicky. In its defense, I thought it was kind of cool that you could draw your own map. Wouldn't you agree that that was kind of cool? Like, don't you think more Zelda games would have benefited from that? Like, you can make notes on the map and say, like, okay, X is here, and scribble a little note at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I never really used it, but
But good features don't make a great game, right? Like, the
yeah.
game actually has to be fun. Were there ever moments when you found yourself saying, wow, I am really enjoying this game?
Not really.
Not even some of the boss battles?
Not really that I can really remember. I mean, it just seemed like, okay, this is just another boss, you know?
Yeah, it seemed like they just wanted to, like, make the boss as, like, DS-y as possible. And then forget that you're actually supposed to make a fun boss battle. Although the first one, it was a cool concept. You know, you control Link on the map screen only, and all you see is the boss's view. Which I guess that was kind of cool, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I don't really remember the game too much.
Though the fact that you can't remember it much is really saying something, because most Zelda games have pretty memorable dungeons, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember the names of
Yeah,
the
me
dungeons.
neither.
I don't remember, like, the themes, or, like, was there a forest temple or a fire temple?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, you know, generic, like, oh yeah, there's like a generic forest dungeon, a generic
Well,
fire
except for
dungeon.
the one where you had to rescue all the sisters. That one was kind of stand out it, but not much. So, I think it's pretty obvious what our opinion on this game is. Avoid this game like the plague. Because, oh my gosh, like, the only Zelda game I can think of that's worse than this is Zelda 2. And you haven't even played that one yet, have you?
No.
So, brace yourself. Anyway, do you have any closing thoughts to give the audience before we try to move on to a more positive review?
No.
This game is just so awful it doesn't even
No,
deserve a
it
review?
doesn't.
Okay, well, there's your answer. We hate this game, and the critics were officially wrong when they said this is one of the best DS games ever made. Check out 999 instead. Anyway, thank you very much. Keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.